All right, I'm just going to start out by saying that this anime and thus any discussions about it are for mature audiences only. Oh.
Yeah, it's not a baby show.
Hello and welcome back to Showing My Boyfriend Anime. Today we are going to do one hell of an awesome anime, in my opinion, Black Lagoon. The main character, Rokuro Okajima, nicknamed Rock throughout the show. He is originally taken as ransom by a pirate company in the South China Sea. As he spends more time with them, he begins to kind of see who they are as people and becomes a formal member of the crew. And then the rest of the show just follows their adventures and Rock trying to assimilate into the life of crime that he has now found himself in. Again, I'm going to do my personal history with this show. I kind of knew about this show back in the day when it first started airing. I didn't watch it when it first started airing because I was like 10, and I kind of knew instinctually, oh, that's not a show for me, because I was a wee lass at the time. But I saw it in a New Type magazine, and I thought that Revy looked really cool, and Rock was standing behind her with his cigarette looking all badass. And so I was like, this looks interesting. I'll keep it in the back of my brain. And then as I got into high school, I heard more discussions about the show, and I was like, I remember that show from that New Type magazine some years back. I'll give it a shot. And so I watched it, and my mind was blown. This is probably one of the best anime I've ever seen, personally. And so that's why I had to show it to my boyfriend, Rob. And so let's go to what he thinks.
Yeah, I mean, Rock's character, well, we have the four characters, right? Because you neglected to mention Dutch and Benny. I believe his name is Dutch. So you got Rock, Revy, Dutch, and Benny. I mean, Rock's whole character is, just because you're a bad guy doesn't mean you have to be a bad guy, right? He stands in the twilight, which is something that they sort of explore towards the end of the show. Well, I think in like the last arc with the Yakuza thing, and then with the Roberta adventure.
Roberta's Blood
And so, of the things that you've shown me, and I've said this a lot, but this is probably my favorite thing. And it's because it is able to balance action and these interesting high concepts with that character development that we've seen from the other series. I like Rock because of his, you don't have to be a bad guy even if you're a bad guy. Like, you can still have some level of honor. Revy is a loose cannon. Dutch and Benny don't really get enough time in the show, unfortunately. Dutch is very stoic, and Benny's just kind of, he's the tech guy. He's the big brain guy.
What did you think about, I guess, the various arcs? We started off with like the introductory arc, and then we went into the whole like corpse plundering neo-Nazi and a gunfight with the neo-Nazis. And then after that, what did we do after that? I think after that was the first introduction to Roberta. What did you think of Roberta, the character of her?
Yeah, I mean, I think her first introduction, like it's also going back to that stoic, silent but deadly.
Yeah.
And when she becomes deadly, she's not very silent anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, and by that, I mean, she isn't really speaking. She is using her guns, her weapons as, her voice.
Yeah.
And they do make a reference to Terminator, and there is that aspect in here where she's just like this unstoppable killing machine. Not literally, of course, but she was trained by a group of revolutionaries. Roberta became disillusioned with the revolutionaries. She's like, I'm no better than the people that we're trying to fight. So she decides to go have a quiet life with one of the 13 major families of South America, Central America.
Yeah.
And of course that gets upset when the boy, I forget his name, we'll call him
Garcia Lovelace. He gets kidnapped by a rival faction and taken to this town that the Lagoon company is in, called Roanapur. It's a fictional city in Thailand.
I like, I'll put a pin in the Roanapur thing, but so yeah, she goes off on that tirade, that adventure to find the kid, and of course the kid's like being trafficked, and he's going to be sold to like some Colombian drug lords or something like that because they're trying to get revenge on the dad, and that of course comes back as the final. It counted as a separate series. It really, I don't know why they would do that. I know like that entire episode arc. It's like 6 episodes are just that one arc, but it honestly could have just been put with the rest of the show.
I think it's because when the anime was coming out in like 2007, that arc had not of the manga had not come out yet.
No,
And
yeah.
so once they got to that arc, they were like, holy shit, this arc is awesome. We need to adapt this. And so they decided to make it its own little thing.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm glad they did. Well, I'm of two minds of that, but basically this entire show is just the pirate adventures, and that's just one of the adventures that they're going on. Like I said, Rock's my favorite. Revy is cool. I think my favorite Revy character moment, and I think maybe, I don't know if I'd say it's my favorite arc. Maybe my favorite arc was the Yakuza one, the very final one that they did. But there's only one moment in the show, because Revy's whole thing is like she puffs out her chest. She's like, fuck this, that, and
I don't need nobody to save me. And all that
she's very self-sufficient, if you will. But there's only one moment in the show where she actually gets scared, and it's in the Yakuza arc where Rock is like talking shit to Balaclava.
Balalaika, the head of,
Revy's not
head
really...
of Hotel Moscow. Best anime character ever. Don't at me. Anyways.
Revy isn't really talking shit to her, but
he's like
Balalaika,
he's like questioning her decisions.
kind of, he's like, hey, can we like maybe not do all the terrible things we're doing right now? Like, it might not be the best thing.
Yeah.
And he's just supposed to be the translator, so she's like, this is not your jurisdiction. She throws him on the hood of her car, she pulls out a gun and sticks it in his face and is like, I'm just gonna shoot you.
It's like,
and this is an important moment,
yeah,
because they have shown throughout the show, even though the main characters, they do get hurt, they don't let them die because they're the main characters, but you believe it enough for there to be some sense of real danger. And then Revy pulls out both of her guns, her cutlasses, and she has them pointed at Balalaika and her bodyguard, whoever else is with her.
Boris,
Yeah, Boris. And you can hear her voice crack as she's yelling, half yelling at Balalaika and half yelling at Rock to shut his fucking mouth. That's what she loves to do. She tells Rock, like, shut up, please just shut up.
Yeah.
Even though talking is like his special thing. Yeah, like he's a very good negotiator. And he even walks out of that pretty much unscathed and gets what he wants in the end.
Yeah.
Well, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I won't give away how that all ends.
I mean,
it was a nice character moment. It was like, there it is. That's the breaking point for her, and it shows that she really cares about Rock. Like, she is a tsundere type done right. It's not done to the point where it is annoying like it was with Suzumiya. It is done in a way where I don't know. It's like in the background enough, but it is still there. It's like, even Rock's like, well, I know you're gonna come rescue me if I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
And later she does go rescue him when he's in trouble. Like, he keeps calling her bluff. She's like, no, fuck you, you're full of shit, I ain't gonna do shit. And then she always has to come to his rescue. She goes to Japan with him. She didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
She agreed. She just was like, oh, I'm gonna go with you. So she's a cool character for that. Like I said, I wish Dutch and Benny were more in the show. I like Benny's character a lot, the tech bro. I wish Dutch had more to do other than to be the driver and kind of the businessman lead of the entire thing. This show is primarily the Rock and Revy show.
Yeah.
You get some supporting casts in there. Like, you have the nun who likes all the guns and stuff.
I love Edda. She's awesome. I love her.
She actually has more to do in the show than Dutch and Benny do. It's kind
I know,
of nuts.
right? There's a whole arc where she's like Revy's partner in crime.
There's a few of those arcs where they're like working together.
I love that
especially
moment.
the Roberta arc.
I love the moment in it's a moment like the first half of the Greenback Jane episode where we first meet this counterfeiter who runs to the church for sanctuary because her old bosses are about to come kill her because she ran off with all their stuff.
Well, because like they weren't giving her the time and resources to make good count. Like, she is like so dead set on making the perfect $100 bill, and she is worth it. Like, she knows what she's talking about.
Yeah.
But they won't give her the time, so she's like, screw this. They kill her programmer. She runs off. Then they're like, oh, we got to get all our stuff back because it's worth like millions of dollars. And then she runs to the church, and they're not going to help her. They're like, fuck off, kid. Like, we don't want anything to do with this. And
they weren't going to help her until Jane's employers come in and start shooting at the church. All it takes is one bullet for Edda and Revy to just open fire
No, see, the
on
only
them.
reason that they got upset, and it was mainly Revy, is because they blew up her glass of whiskey.
Yeah.
And it was
And
that
they
one
damaged-
shot, and then she's like, okay, fuck you. It was already hot as hell. Like, they were
Yeah.
already not happy.
And
that's when things hit the fan.
yeah, and Revy and Etta had a finish each other's sandwiches moment where they were like, any idiot who comes in and starts shooting at us had better damn well be prepared to go to war. And I'm like, that's how you know that these two are like, they're like that. Even though they don't interact a ton on screen, you do see them kind of drinking together. They're buddies, but I really like that little moment where they're just kind of like, oh, we got each other's backs.
The other most interesting dynamic is the dynamic between everyone in Roanapur, which I'm going to take that pin down. We're going to talk about that pin now.
Yeah.
And the most interesting thing is that the statue out in front, the face or the eyes have been destroyed. Like they're not there.
Yeah.
And so that's, I kind of interpret it as this, look the other way or justice is blind. And so everyone in that town, it's like there's nothing personal. Like sometimes things get personal, but it's totally impersonal. It's like, oh, if there's money on the table, then, fuck it. Like, I know we worked together before, but there's money on your head. So like, I'm going to go get my bag.
Yeah.
And like, even with Bella Laika and the Lagoon Company, that's the name of the, Black Lagoon Company.
The Black Lagoon is the boat that they ride. Yeah.
Bella Laika is on positive terms with them, but in I think it's the final arc. No, it's the arc where the incest snuff twins, vampires, are in it. And the Black Lagoon Company is helping one of them escape, and Bella Laika's like, your ass is grass.
Yeah.
But I mean, that ends up resolving itself pretty quickly.
Yeah.
But it's just like, but there's still honor. Like there's honor amongst thieves.
Yeah.
And everything's impersonal, and so that dynamic, you don't get to see it too horribly much. The biggest complaint about this show that I have is that it is too short. It was like the episodes just went like that.
Yeah.
They were gone, do. And I was like, there's no way that's the episode. Because a lot of these I watch, it just goes on and on and on and on, and then it ends. And then this one's just like, boom, and then it ends. And I think that has to do with like, there's just so much fluff at the beginning and the end. Because like, you have the Universal logo for whatever reason. And then you have the opening titles, because I don't think they really do the cold open. They just go opening titles, and then you get like maybe 20 minutes of episode, and then it ends.
Yeah.
So, and then you have like the intermission screen too. So I wish it was longer, and that's like the highest compliment you could give to anything. I wish there was more of it.
Yeah.
And even going into the final arc, which I did have some issues with. It was still, like, it doesn't really conclude anything. It kind of concludes Rock's arc a little bit. Like, he's still in the twilight. Like, he's going to maintain that.
Yeah.
Even though he was tricking everybody so that things could go his way.
Yeah, it's sort of the last arc, Roberta's Blood Trail. It does kind of show, because for the whole rest of the series, Revy has constantly maintained that Rock is not ready for the life of crime, the life that being in Roanapur would necessitate.
It's because she doesn't understand his style. Like, she doesn't understand you can be a bad guy without being a bad guy. Like, I mean, no one in Roanapur is really like Rock, except maybe the mob leaders. They're like him, but everyone else is like, shoot first, get money later, right? I mean, that's the whole part and parcel. Yeah. But she can't wrap her head around that. She can't understand, one, why he's sticking around. Because even when they go back to Japan, because Rock is a Japanese guy, he was a Japanese businessman before he got, Baba Booeyed into getting on this pirate ship. Yeah. But she's just like, you could just stay, like why not just stay and go back to your family? Well, one, he's supposed to be dead. Like, he was just like, tell everyone I died. Yeah. So he can't really go back at that point. But two, he's like, I can't really go back. Yeah. Yeah, he can't really go back at this point. He's at a point of no return once he accepts the invitation to join the Lagoon Company. Because they don't really invite him. He's just like, I'm just going to join you guys now. Yeah, Revy's like, you're tagging along with us. Because she originally wanted to hold him for ransom. But when that didn't really work out, and his employer basically just said, disappear into the South China Sea and we'll say that you're dead.
And he kind of felt really betrayed by that. He was like, you guys don't value my life. You're not even going to try to save me. You care more about these secrets on this disc that the Lagoon Company got their hands on.
That's the realest shit in the show,
Yeah,
by the way.
and it's like, you don't care one bit that I'm gone now. And it's like, no, not really, bye.
I mean, that's his stepping into the Twilight moment, right? Like, that's when he's like, oh, well, like, he doesn't obviously want to be a bad guy, but he's like, well, obviously being a good guy isn't working out either. Because they were willing to just hand me over, so I'm going to kind of go off and do my own thing with these guys.
Yeah, I think that probably one of the best moments of the show, for me, on top of that moment when Balalaika just throws Rock over the car, I think it's also the argument that Rock and Revy have when they're at dinner that one time, when Revy's been really like kind of quiet past few days, telling Rock that when you're living on the streets, all you have is yourself and money and your guns, and that's all that you really have in this life. And that's all she's ever known. And then Rock is trying to say, no, there's more to life than that. You don't need to settle for this, for what you've gotten yourself into. And they have a huge blow up.
Revy literally was going to kill him.
She
grabs the gun and pushes it away before she can.
Yeah, and that's kind of the moment where she's, not everything can be solved with a gun, is the lesson of that episode. Really,
which isn't really something she changes with going forward. Like, she still just goes straight for her guns. I mean, like, kind of in the Yakuza arc where there's this one Yakuza guy, this thug guy, that's trying to goad her into pulling her weapons out, even though she doesn't have them at that point. But he's, like, beating the shit out of Rock, and he's trying to get her to, like, fight me, you know, because he's a punk. Like, he doesn't realize that. He's like, I killed 10 people. And she's like, I killed 50 men. She doesn't say that. But we know that she has done that. Yeah. I mean, she probably wouldn't even need her guns to kill him at that point.
So another thing I wanted to talk about was just, I wanted to just praise the ever-loving shit out of this voice cast. This is probably one of the best English dubs I've ever seen. Got Brad Swale as Rock, also known as Light Yagami in Death Note. You got Marika Hendricks as Revy, who does some anime, but she's mostly known for her roles as like more demure, cutesy characters in things like Barbie movies and stuff like that. So having her play as this swashbuckling, swearing sailor chick Revy is honestly pretty awesome to hear. You get Dean Redman as Dutch, who I think he's mostly known for live action stuff. Benny, I cannot remember his actor's name, but he's pretty good too. I think his last name is Drummond, but I can't remember what his first name is. And then you got Balalaika's voice actress is also awesome. Leads nice, like strong, stoic mob boss, and her actress hasn't really done a whole lot of other work. So you got a lot of people that don't really have a lot of other credits. The biggest name in this thing, I think, is probably going to be Brad Swale. And also, Roberta is voiced by Tabitha St. Germain, who is known for a lot of, like, kids.
She was in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, wasn't she?
Yes. Yeah. I can't remember who she played, but yes. She's also known as Scary Godmother, which I find...
I haven't seen that.
Okay, it was on Cartoon Network. It's like a Halloween special.
Yeah.
You got relatively, not, I wouldn't say unknown, but
experienced voice actors doing this.
Yeah, you got experienced voice actors, but they're not like the big celebrity voice actor names like Vic Mignogna or whatever.
But I mean, whatever the case is, the show's pretty well balanced. Like I said, I wish it was a little bit longer. I mean, it, like, even despite being, how many episodes is it? Like 30?
About, yeah.
Yeah, it still just feels like it's too short. I think that's mainly because it's not episodic, like, or as episodic. Like, it has those wide sweeping arcs that it's so fast paced, but it's so well paced is the thing. Everyone in Roanapur is damaged to a certain extent. And so there's also a tragedy in that all of them are kind of stuck here in this shithole. And that's the other thing that just blows Revy's mind, that Rock doesn't have to be stuck in the shithole. Why is he still here? You know, he could go back anytime. And I think that also frustrates her. Maybe there's some level of her that is envious of him, that wishes she could just go back, but she knows that she can't. I mean, there's a sequence in the Yakuza arc where she's hanging out with some kids, which I thought was a really nice scene.
Yeah, that was really sweet, especially contrasted with how she treated Garcia when he was on the boat.
She hates kids. She just
originally she hated kids, but as soon as the kids come out with their like little toy guns and stuff, that's when she's really in her element, playing Old West with them.
Yeah.
And it's actually really adorable. And then when Rock catches her, she gets all embarrassed and is like,
he's like, "What are you doing?"
It's like, "Don't tell anybody that I was adorable."
So the final arc, or it should just be part of the rest of the show. It's going to say it's separate. It's just part of the rest of the show. There's no reason not to watch it.
Yeah.
It's 6 episodes, which I think makes it the longest arc in this series.
5.
Oh, 5. I have mixed feelings on it. I think it mainly comes down to it's taking itself extremely seriously while also being extremely absurd. Like, this woman, this Roberta, is just unkillable. She's just this unstoppable maniacal maniac, and she just won't die.
Yeah.
And the rest of the show still has, like, it's serious, but it still has a level of tongue-in-cheek comedy about it. This final arc, all of that goes away. It's just like, it is like what it is. So there's a tonal shift.
Yeah.
But it doesn't... I don't know, it's just like if you want us to take it seriously and want it to be more realistic and grounded, then you can't have this woman just be unkillable the entire time.
Yeah,
it's just like, this is an unreasonable level of unkillable.
She's in the first couple episodes of that arc, or in the first few scenes of that arc even, she's probably sustained at least 3 lethal wounds.
Yeah.
And she's still just walking around, guns like this, just walking, not a care in the world. And even
they blow her fingers off and she blow her arm off. And the thing is, the reason why she worked so well the first time, because it was still a novel idea and they were still kind of making jokes. They were making Terminator references. They were like, "Oh my God, isn't this such a crazy, wacky situation?" But in its own, kind of serious way, not like a, "Oh, well, that just happened" kind of way. And then they get to the final ones and then they take it all completely seriously. And then there is that disconnect. And it's not bad. Like, it's still worth watching. And especially, if not for Rock and then seeing Revy get her card played by the other, because they have another maid that shows up, because Roberta is the head maid. You have another maid showing up to find Roberta, and Roberta has gone out on her own because the head of the household has died, and she's coming to Roanapur to get the Americans, and the Americans are trying to get the Colombians, and then they're all trying to get, and it's just this huge cluster snot, which, by the way, it handles all these different plots very well. It is all very well structured and paced. It is just that weird tonal dissonance that happens, but everything else is fine. I just think it's kind of weird that they're like, "Oh, we're just going to go back home and everything's going to be hunky-dory." And the issue with that is that they already did that arc the first time.
Yeah.
It's like, she's like, "I will never do this again." And then she did it again. And it's like, well, what's going to stop her from doing it this time? What, you think because she's missing 2 fingers and an arm? Yeah. Like, what's going to stop her again? She's going to get a prosthetic that's like a giant knife or something, or like a gun, or like a blaster, like she's Mega Man. And she's just going to keep doing it. So, I'm not convinced that she really actually learned her lesson this time, because it is like a longer version of the other one. And the other one, like I said, was still fun because it was still kind of tongue-in-cheek. And also you had Revy and her going at it and coming to a complete stalemate, which makes me think, if one person, and granted that one person, Revy, is extraordinarily good at what she does, if one person could bring things to a stalemate, then why the hell couldn't the rest of all these people? But at the same time, it's also because Rock was trying to prove a point, that he is still in the twilight, that he could still save someone, because he failed to do that in the Yakuza arc. And Revy's kind of like, "See, you dipshit, you can't save people that are on this path."
Yeah.
But he wanted to show that he could still save people from doing these things. It's just that we've already done this. It's mainly for his sake, that whole arc, even though it's called Roberta's Blood Trail. And to a certain extent, I originally thought that this was going to be Roberta's journey to Roanapur the first time. So I was like confused. I'm like, is this flashing back to other things that happened? But this takes place after everything. Yeah. And I kind of wish it had just been that, because at least we could have still seen more of her journey, instead of kind of just like, because at that point, because none of the characters from Roanapur are involved, you could still have it be this serious thing and not have the tonal dissonance to it. But that's just my shithead opinion. I mean,
the other thing
I thought this show was pretty great, and it's definitely one that I would recommend to people.
The other thing that I think is also a bit of a tonal dissonance, at least in my opinion, is like we said before, the incest vampire snuff twins.
That is... It works because it is so dark that it is comedic. It works in that sense. It is definitely probably the most fucked up thing that I have seen in one of these shows.
Yeah.
It is so much more dark than everything else that's in the show. Like, it's not even close. They were like, what is the most fucked up way we can start this season? Oh, I know. Well, let's see. They're children. They're incest. They're gender fluid, as apparently. We get to watch one of them bleed out to death. Their genitals are mutilated, or it's implied.
They were sold into sex slavery, and they were
orphans,
and they were forced to make snuff films.
They were forced to kill their fellow orphans, and that's what drove them insane. They were like forced to make pornography.
Yeah,
and so that kind of drove them nuts. Now, I like that one of them used an axe. The show is like 98% guns. There's like two characters that use blades. One is one of the incest twins, and the other one is this lady that has the blades on the chain. English, as they call it in the show.
Chinglish.
Chinglish, sorry.
That's another thing that I also want to point out about this show. I've seen a lot of people say that you couldn't make this show today, and I'm thinking,
in Japan, yeah, you could. In the West, probably not.
Yeah, other than like the worst ones, they use like every slur in the book. They use the R word. Revi, who is Chinese American, calls Shenhua Chinglish. She also calls Legarch, because he's Irish, she calls him a leprechaun.
It's a show that's not afraid to be offensive, basically.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Especially Revi.
But it makes sense. Like, that falls in line with what it is.
It's also extremely funny that Shenhua also goes back on Revi, calls her a Twinkie. Which I don't know, I found that amusing. They're kind of trading insults. It creates this nice little rapport that they kind of carry throughout the show, even though Shenhua shows up like twice more in the show. She shows up in Greenback Jane arc, where you think she dies, but then in Roberta's Blood Trail, nah, she's fine. She comes back for that one to get Roberta, to help Revi get
yeah, because the super edgy DeviantArt 2007 OC guy saves her.
Yeah, I love that guy too. He's funny.
Speaking of the West, I honestly think this is a show that could work as a live action series if they wanted to make it as a live action series, for sure. I mean, it's grounded enough. We've seen a lot of movies that have done bloodbaths. If you've ever watched Quentin Tarantino, you know that it's possible to do crazy bloodbaths. I think it could genuinely work. It'd be a lot of money because you have to film on the ocean and all this stuff. But they just did that One Piece one that was pretty well received.
Yeah.
And this is way more grounded than that, obviously. So honestly, if they did make a live action of this, I would be interested in seeing something like that, so long as they do it right and they don't try to sand down the edges to make it more palatable for Western audiences.
No, don't do that.
Because that takes the thing that makes it good out of the thing.
Yeah.
Which we've seen so many times.
Yeah, that would be completely missing the point if they decided to try to make it as non-offensive as possible. It's meant to be offensive. It is offensive on purpose to pretty much everybody.
But it's done in a way that is smart. It's not like... I hate to throw this person under the bus because I appreciate what she did for YouTube animation, but it's not like Vivzy Pop, who is like trying so hard to be offensive, but none of it is well done. You haven't seen Hell of a Boss or the other things that she did. I'm going to assume that a lot of people that enjoy anime have probably also seen Hell of a Boss, maybe even Hazbin Hotel. You know what I'm talking about. She just throws in swears for the sake of swears and a whole bunch of other inappropriate and edgy things, and there's no rhyme or reason outside of I just want to be edgy. This actually makes sense because they are in this fucked situation. I don't know. But I don't really have anything else to say about it. It's definitely top of my list right now. It's like right up there with Avatar: The Last Airbender. Yeah, so definitely check it out.
Oh, for sure, yeah. So yeah, I think that's about all that I have to say about this show as well. It's one of my personal favorites. If you're not sure about anime, if you're kind of wishy-washy about it, this is also a really good gateway show if you're more used to Western style.
Yeah, it's a
media.
gateway drug to anime. Be careful. Don't let friends watch Black Lagoon. But you also have to be prepared for a lot of violence and a lot of swearing.
Like I said at the beginning of my disclaimer, this is not something that if you have like a weak
This is like
mind
NC-17.
It is.
Basically. This is
really
beyond
is.
R. You do get to see boobies.
You do.
In the final
Twice.
arc, right? It's the Roberta's blood trail.
You
You get to see Revi's boobies, so there. If you want to watch the show, like, you got to watch it all the way up till there. Okay, that's
all right,
it.
yeah, that's all I got to say too. So hopefully we're gonna come back next time with
Men in Black.
maybe on your channel. Yeah, we're gonna come back next time with School Days.
Oh yeah, I did agree to finish watching that.
School Days.
Speaking of shows.
Yeah, hopefully I can make another video on that. And yeah, I'll see you next time. See ya!